Welcome back, everybody. This is Paul again, the second or third in my series about esoteric teachings for the modern world. In the last couple of videos, we covered a bit about knowing yourself, our potential. We talked a little bit about space is not really empty, how consciousness pervades space. And in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about the fluidity and energy, because a lot of times in our life we don't think of things in terms of energy. We just think of objects, our desk, our book, or whatever, our house, car. But we don't think of, for example, in a car, when you look at a car you see this object moving along, but you also, there's heat moving along, there's momentum, there's some power, there's some electricity within that vehicle. It's not just an object. The same way with everything that's in our life, it's not just a bunch of objects, there's energy, there's fluidity. The objects are a temporary result of the activity and movements of energy, because we know that on an atomic level, even something like a desk or a stone is just a bunch of movement. It's just absolutely incredible. And now they're saying that even at the subquantum level, way down deep into matter, there's some kind of motion. Quantum kinetics or something like that. So what the ancient people have talked about, for example, is this great breath that, you take like one big tremendous cycle, the ultimate of all cycles, that the universe comes into being. It lasts for billions and billions and billions of years. And then slowly but surely all the little stars just slowly fade out. And then there's nothing left. And then it starts all over again. That's like one enormous cycle. Now the Hindus and other cultures have tried to actually calculate this great breath of Brahma. Basically that every single thing is moving like an accordion. Just like some enormous motion is going on. And within that, there's all kinds of motions, all kinds of waves of motion. So the entire everything is just change and motion, ceaseless motion, and all that. Sometimes things get compressed and you have compression and so on, and then you have like starburst and then it's expansion. And the ancient teachers that have really come down, there's so many of them for so long now that we can't even name them all. But in Egypt, esotericism and symbols, all around the world, in China, they use symbols, numbers, colors, metaphors, geometry, shapes to try to teach these things. Because, first of all, it starts with the simple, and then you can grow it as you use analogy and metaphor, as above, so below. So these symbols and metaphors and things that are still being used today after thousands and thousands of years, they come down to us in various ways through different traditions around the world. The reason they have a lot of commonality is because nature at its roots has some commonality. There's ratios, there's mathematical principles, there's types of movements, and so on. And people have observed these things. For example, when you train your body, imagine living in the mountains and you're just eating like the purest of food or hardly anything, and you're meditating every single day, and you spend lots of time in deep meditation. And your senses are super, super sensitive. You can sense all kinds of subtle things if you train yourself, right? So you had these like teachers that have tried to tell us through these different methods. So what we do is we gather some of these books together, we look through them, we compare notes, say, look, okay, well, what did this tradition say? What did this tradition say? And some of them are more technical. For example, Esoteric in Egypt, they had incredible symbolism. That was their science. I mean, it's hard for people to understand this, but you look at the Egyptian hieroglyphs, for example, and we think, well, it must have been some kind of weird religion. Well, kind of, but you know, it's also, nature is weird. I mean, the facts of the matter is quantum mechanics and all the other weird things that go on, gravity, electricity, plasma, all kinds of weird creatures. Nature's weird. So you look at what they had a technical description. They had a lot of interesting symbols and geometry. These guys did, the Egyptians. In India, you know, this particular, you know, a lot of allegory, metaphors, describing in poetic language. Also, the importance of language in terms of the sounds. Sounds is another big thing in this category. Sound, how you vocalize something. And many, many languages and teachings were passed down for literally thousands of years solely by voice. Because it wasn't just the words, it was the sound that was within those chosen voice sounds to convey something deeper than just what could be represented by numbers and colors. So again, sounds, music. So basically what we're going back to is look at our own being as being fluid. Our consciousness is fluid. Nature is fluid. Everything's motion. Things change. All compounds are perishable. That's attributed to Buddha. Everything is like changing as you speak. Little pieces of skin are falling off. My body is slowly aging right as I talk. That's the reality. And when we use meditation to try to slow, basically meditation is synchronizing our whole being, our breathing, our life, to harmonize ourselves with something that's already existing, something powerful and harmonious, a natural force. That's why, for example, dance and Tai Chi and movements, because the way we move in space, the speed at which we move, the shape at which we move, all those kinds of things can be used to enhance our consciousness and synchronize our own awareness with the movements in nature. Because once we synchronize ourselves with nature, we're just like a flea on an elephant's back. That's what we have to understand, really. We have to synchronize with the universe. The universe is not going to synchronize with us. People, I joke about people needing a button by the side of their bed where they just push it and, you know, it starts their whole life for the day and everything works out fine. At the end of the day, they just turn it off, you know, go to bed. It's not like that. We have to get our rhythm. If we want to understand, our consciousness needs to expand. The way we can do that is let our own inner awareness settle in a quiet place, just like water. If you don't bother it, it just kind of finds its natural resting point, you know. So in some of the other segments that I've talked a lot about the aura, I've talked a lot about the spatial astronomy stuff in relation to esoteric, and I've talked about numbers, and I'm going to explore a lot more here. As I said, I have to do sort of almost like random presentations because you get a nugget here and you get a nugget there, and a piece here and a piece there. Some of them are definitely in sequence, but your own intuition, again, using imagery, using sounds, using songs, try chanting, try vocalizing feelings in a non-linguistic way, you might say. And you'll be surprised what kinds of movements or energy you find within yourself. Try doing unusual movements with your arms. Because then you start to harness, you realize, well, yes, our consciousness is extending through my whole being and out into the space around it. So again, thanks for watching. I have to make these short segments, and I'll see you in the next video.